Hello, my name is Niall McKay and welcome to Living with PSC, a podcast about the rare disease of primary sclerosing cholangitis. Now, PSC causes the bile ducts inside and outside the liver to become scarred, narrowed and eventually blocked, and leads to liver cirrhosis. In this podcast, we aim to dispel some of the myths about the disease. Hello and welcome to Living with PSC. In this episode, I'm joined by PSC Partners founder and volunteer CEO Ricky Safer and Executive Director Audra Flemming. There was so much news in this conversation that I found myself saying wow again and again. We began with Ricky's extraordinary recognition by AASLD, a huge moment not only for Ricky personally, but for the whole PSC community. It really shows how far patient voices have come, from the early days of PSC Partners to now being welcomed into the heart of a major liver disease research and clinical conversations. We also talk about some very hopeful research developments, including new blood tests for PSC and cholangiocarcinoma, and the work being done through PSC Partners' International Collaborative Research Network. The network is bringing researchers, clinicians, patients, and families together to shape the research around the needs of the PSC community. Audra and Ricky also share details about how this year's PSC Partners Conference is taking place in the 5th of November to the 8th of November in Denver in partnership with AASLD. It is a remarkable full circle moment. PSC Partners will bring the patient community directly into the biggest liver disease meeting in the world. There's more. We touch on the growing momentum around the drug development of PSC symptoms, with more news expected later, possibly around the November conference. So this is a conversation about recognition, research, community, and real hope. Here are Ricky and Audra from PSC Partners. So Ricky, congratulations on receiving the 2026 AASLD Distinguished Advocacy Award. It's wonderful news.
I am really humbled and honored by this award and did not expect to ever get it. And it is so meaningful to me after 22 years of doing what we've been doing to receive something like this and to be recognized by AASLD, which is the huge group of 10,000 hepatologists who come to these meetings and share all their ideas and their research. And I'm just thrilled to be honored by them. Until a few years ago, they really didn't do much for patients. Now they have, a whole series of programs for patients. When I was diagnosed with PSC 22 years ago, I experienced all the scary, traumatic emotions that I think all of us newly diagnosed PSC patients go through, worrying about what are we going to do with our life now? Is my life over? 22 years ago, when I was diagnosed, I was actually told that you have 5 to 10 years to live. And that, I will never forget hearing that. So I went to work. Luckily, my daughter is an attorney. And so pro bono, of course, she and I went to some courses here to find out how to start a nonprofit. And she did all the legal work for us. And it was a go. So it all built up really quickly. So we officially launched in January of 2005. And I worked with Dr. Everson, my hepatologist at the time, he helped us get speakers for the first conference. So the conference, we launched in January and we had the first conference in April. And keep in mind that and ended up with 84 patients and caregivers who came, which absolutely shocked me because we had no reputation. They didn't even know if we even existed. They sent in their registration money and came. And luckily, we were on the up and up. So, and it was a fabulously exciting thing because the way most people heard about us, at the time, there was a Yahoo group that had been just an online thing. And I went through them to say who I was and what we were doing, what we were hoping to do, and would any of you like to come to the conference? So that was huge that we started with 84 people. And then it's just grown since then. And now we average about, Audra, 350
to 400, yeah.
Yeah. at the conferences, which is great. So anyway, as I said, with help my daughter, we set everything up. And my vision was twofold: to build a strong patient caregiver community where we can help educate and support each other. And then, of course, we needed a strong community of providers and researchers globally with whom we can collaborate research efforts to find new treatments and eventual cure. So today, I'm really proud to say that we have created both of these communities, and we're still continuing growing them. Mm-hmm. I would say the patient caregiver community was the easiest one to do because I would say all of us, once we're diagnosed with this, we're just really wanting to find somebody else who's gone through the same thing. We can help each other. So our patient caregiver community is really unique. Most people call us a family where everyone is welcome. We're a group of compassionate people who are always ready to help each other. And I feel like, especially with the mentor program that we have, people come to the first conference if they want with a mentor who leads them through everything. And I know your mentor was John Crowley, and you still see each other, talk to each other constantly. They came to Ireland to visit you. That's what we hope happens with the mentor program. So that was very cool. But the other community was really, really difficult. So 22 years ago, patient organizations were not very popular with in general with physicians. It was really difficult to convince the medical community to work with a patient group. I kept hearing the concern that patient groups might pass on incorrect information and that the providers prefer that all the patient education should come from them.
When you talk to physicians nowadays, they're like, help me understand this, because you have people living in rural parts of the country that don't have specialists. And so they really are trying to teach themselves very quickly. So when you have educated patients that can come and say, hey, go to this site, do these things, it encourages them to get to know more. So the more people understanding and knowing PSC and what it is and kind of the complications of it, I think sparks that interest in the research, in people wanting to drive at finding something to help the symptoms. I think that, what you hear all the time is, my life would be completely different if there was something to manage the symptoms. I mean, of course, everyone wants a cure. We want to slow the progression of the disease. It's the symptoms that you're living with for 10, 15, 20 years that just tear away at who a person is. And I think that that's where we're at with research, is that there is a strong push right now for symptom treatments. And I feel very confident in saying, within the next year or two, there's going to be some pretty spectacular things that come around. And I don't know that we've ever felt that there was a place to even say that, but we both can say that with confidence, that there are companies that are invested and they're right on the cusp. And it's coming. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a game changer, because once that happens, we all know the spark that happens when a treatment is found. It takes off and there's more interest in it, because now we know a pathway to getting at some of these things. And I do feel like that's where PSC is. And I think it was one of the most powerful things that I heard from multiple people at our conference this last year, in the surveys as well as in person, is they came up and they were like, I am walking away with hope. I really do. Yeah. I see it. It's coming. It's coming. Right. Like there's this excitement at the conference last year of something's coming. Yes. So
I think with everything that we've built, we do have an international reputation. I'm thrilled what you just told me about Ireland, for example. And so just like Audra said, some of the researchers are coming to us because they want the patient input. One thing I wanted to just review real quickly for everybody is, so research used to be done just whatever the researchers wanted. So they meet, they get together, they have all the data, they have all the expertise, but they don't really know what we want. And so finally they're coming to us and asking us. So This collaborative model is now transforming the landscape of PSC research and making all our research efforts much more meaningful to us as patients. So there are 4 levels of patient engagement that I want to explain, because you'll always hear this from both what we're saying way. And as you know, all of us are petrified of cholangiocarcinoma, because right now there are no sensitive ways of finding it early. And by the time they find it, it's often too late for people. So this is not only early detection, but a less invasive way. And the other thing they're finding with this is that it looks like this test might diagnose, early bile duct cancer and also possibly diagnose PSC itself. And so that is beyond exciting, as you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's become a twofold thing where it's almost going to be put up as 2 separate tests, but it's the same. And it's a blood draw. So and to detect, it's like right now, some of the statistics, it's in the 90 to 97% range of accuracy on that. So when you can detect cholangiocarcinoma by a blood test, early stage,
that something can be done.
And something can be done. And then on top of that, say, hey, can you imagine being with your IBD doctor now and saying, well, let me get a blood draw and see if you have PSC?
It would be amazing.
Wow.
So all of this came out of ICRN. So I think it's a milestone also, because PSC patients are the true partners in this research project. We're the ones that started this whole thing with the researchers. So that brings me incredible hope.
Yeah, I mean, I got diagnosed with a biopsy. Talk about a liver biopsy. So they stick a large needle into your side.
Exactly.
I've had that too.
If it weren't for the nurse who kind of grabbed my feet, which was, I don't know what, she obviously knew what she was doing, but somehow that made the whole thing easy. Well done. Thank you so much, you guys. It's wonderful service for the community. So there's obviously been I'll take a little change in gear now, because there's been a shift in, say, the funding models and stuff in the United States in recent years. And I'm just wondering how you guys are kind of managing to cope with this. Are you like, I know that a lot of the funding was always from, publicly raised money from patients and their families and stuff like that. But how is the funding landscape for PSC Partners to continue to do this great work changing at the moment?
I mean, I would say, being based in the U.S., it does currently create a unique dynamic of how you go about things. There's, certain things I know that have happened in the past few years where it's like, oh, wait, you can't say that, or you can't put it in that way, whether it's diversity or equality or, those kind of things. But I think it is really for me, and what I'm seeing is you have to diversify. I think that organizations that are really struggling and on the verge of closing doors is because they have had one fundraising stream, right? So when you have one fundraising stream, I always say this about a nonprofit, it's not like a for-profit organization. I can't send an invoice to you, Niall, and say, hey, you owe me $5,000. It's completely up to the community, how they want to support, what they want to support. And so I think that's why it's so important, and something that PSC Partners has been incredible at, is what is important to the community. That's why you see the ICRN and the CCA project come out of it. It's because we ask the community. So I think that the more, especially now in these days, and with the internet, with everybody wanting every ounce of information they can get and feeling like you need to tell me where every cent of my dollar goes sometimes, I feel like it's something that PSC Partners has been ahead of the game on, because we put the patients at the table with us. The decisions we make to move the organization forward aren't made by us sitting here. They're made because we've asked the community, what do you want? What's important to you? what do you want us to focus on? The CCA project came about. We had, what the way ICRN worked was there were 4 different studies that were brought up in ICRN that were highly looked at and presented to the community, and the community chose
which was most important.
Was the most important. And when you can say that to a donor, that no, we didn't make that decision. The community made that. They told us this was the one they wanted because it had the highest level of interest and fear, and felt like if we could move that needle, that's going to mean something to us. And so I think that is critical, but the diversifying of funds has to, you cannot survive in this atmosphere right now if you only have one funding source. So grants are incredibly important, right? And we were just awarded the PCORI grant.
Just recently.
Just a couple weeks ago. And so it is to support the ICRN in those efforts. And so we're incredibly excited about what could come. And when you put it in perspective, the CCA grant that we gave through ICRN, all of that, what we just talked about, this incredible move forward for the community happened in 1 year. So
wow.
That CCA project was chosen in 2025, and we're already at the point where the test, it's coming.
Yeah.
And
wow.
To have that kind of turnaround in 1 year
is amazing.
Imagine what we can do with a PCORI grant and funding and support from the community on what's chosen next. I think that's what's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's the patient registry. So you guys are able to go out to your patients and say, do you experience XYZ? And there were really interesting questions that I saw in there for the first time in some of those patient registry questionnaires that came out. Questions about depression, questions about stuff like, as we said earlier, sometimes, the medical community is not quite down with the fact that the brains are also connected to our bodies as well.
Right? Amazing.
Yeah, shocking.
Yeah. Well, and this example of the community, back in 2020, when we were preparing for our patient-focused drug development meeting with the FDA, we did our Voices survey, and we had, I can't remember the time, but it was out for a very short time, and we had 797 respondents. And so people are listening to that when they realize we're not talking about 25 patients who are doing this.
Yeah, and that was really... So it's called Connected to Care Summit series, if you want to do the whole Connected to Care Summit series. And that really came about initially before I even got here. This was a vision of Joanne Hatchett and...
led by Joanne.
Yeah.
and actually Dr. Kittis Humam in San Francisco. And we've been talking about this, I would say probably for 5 years. We've been talking about wanting to do this, or us to go out in the community.
And how do we do that?
How do we do this? And
how do we bring people together? And how do we and what communities do we go to? And it was a big dream. And I think that, for me, when I came in, it was really important to have the strategic plan with the board. And where do we need to move the needle for PSC and this organization, and to keep this organization going? And of course, research, there's a element of research. It's 3-tiered, but the big tier on that was the community. How do we grow this community? How do we get this community engaged even more? And what can we do to strengthen what we have, but empower the patients to have a bigger impact even? And so what we found is really looking at the initial program of what the thought for that was getting into communities on a local level. I'm a big data-driven person, and so I definitely looked at the conference, and what we realized is that the conference is that very special, incredible experience. It's like a class reunion, a family reunion. It's but it's also, you learn so much there, but we need to be able to take that experience and take it into the community, because not everybody has the ability or the option, whether it's physically or financially or mentally, to travel to our conference, because it does change locations each year, and to stay for 3 days. So the best thing we can do for our community is bring it to them. We're coming to you. And that's really the message for Connected to Care. We're coming to you, and we're going to connect you to the care in your community and connect you to the community where you're at. So that you have people locally, even if they're an hour or two away. That gives so much comfort for someone, caregivers for a patient, to know that there is someone else that lives in your area that is experiencing this. And importantly, something you had said, Niall, is what we're doing. The first official one just took place in LA 2 weeks ago. And there was a woman there who came because she had just been diagnosed 2 months ago. She didn't have a physician that knew anything about it. She didn't know what physicians to go to. She was learning. She said, what I know so far, I've learned from PSC Partners website. So I wanted to come today and see if I could find a physician. I mean, that's a huge, if that was the one person that walked away with that was worth it.
That was worth it.
So it's connecting not only the patients together,
I was just going to say,
but with physicians that are in their area that know and understand what they're going through and can help them create the path, the roadmap of where they need to go. I mean, there were people in the room like, oh my God, I need to get this doctor, and I need to, we had one of the physicians literally go through, when you're first diagnosed, you should ask for these tests. This is what they should be looking for. This is if it's outcomes or this. And then another one saying, and then as you're managing it, this should be the test you get on an annual basis. This one you should only need if you're in this category. And it was watching people's faces light up from knowledge. That's what was empowering, because I just saw people writing down and just like.
And sorry, would you like to tell the Brooke and Michelle story just briefly, so that those who don't know, I mean, there's going to be a wonderful video. I suppose it's on the website already, but of these two guys who are just amazing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely an incredible, unique story, but I hope it doesn't stay unique is my hope. And it is proving.
We need more people wearing T-shirts on the back that say, I'm looking for a liver, with a QR code.
I mean,
could you tell the story, Ricky, just briefly?
Well, just basically, we were at the conference in 2024, and
this is the PSC conference. PSC Partners Conference.
And Brooke was standing in line waiting to get her food. She was behind Michelle, and Michelle was wearing a T-shirt that said, I need a liver, and scan it. So the two of them, since they were waiting for their food, started talking, and turned out that Brooke really wanted to be a liver donor, and that then they found out, amazingly so, that they were the same blood type, and so the match, and that's how the story went. Wasn't that easy? I mean, a lot of steps, but
a lot of steps. Yeah.
And your video is fantastic, Niall.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Going through the timing of it all, I think, was amazing. It almost seemed like there was an intervention from above, the way it kept connecting the conference, because they met at the conference. Brooke was looking into it because her daughter has PSC. She found out, since her daughter doesn't need a liver yet, and she was getting older, if she was going to do it, she needed to do it now. And
the mother
that was going to be the living donor. And she, not only did they match, but there were setbacks based on family decisions too, and emotional decisions and progression of the disease with Michelle and that. But I think the craziest part about the story is when it was decided, I mean, it happened very quickly. Be at Mayo in the next 2 weeks, and we're doing this. And it turned out it happened right at the following year's conference. So again, an outcome in 1 year from that chance meeting at our conference. And the following year, this last year in 2025, Brooke came to our conference 3 weeks after being a living donor for Michelle and saving her life with a liver, and actually stood on stage and had Michelle on FaceTime in her hospital room. But there's something about that conference, but that just shows there is power in the community coming together and supporting each other.
Absolutely.
And it was just such a miraculous story. And I think we were fortunate to be a part of it.
Yeah. It gave me shivers when they first came up to me during lunchtime and told me they had found each other. And I was just like,
yeah.
The community helps. I tell you, something I remember, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, someone who had just finished his first conference, and he came up to me and he said, I think the PSC Partners is a tiny, mighty army. And it has stuck with me. I think that is who we are. You know, everybody's in the fight together, helping each other and so on. And actually, I would love Audra to talk a little bit about the registry, because it's incredibly important that we get more people in it.
Yeah. And the registry, I mean, again, powerhouse for this organization, but that is all from Rachel Gomel, having a vision to create that with the community and being in a place where, I mean, her knowledge and her education on getting that. And it took.
And talk about tiny mighty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rachel is tiny and mighty.
She is. That she is.
And she had a vision, and she wasn't walking away from that vision until it was exactly what she wanted. And I think that where we're at today is not only a testament to Rachel's drive to create something powerful for this community to be seen and to be heard, but it's carried on by her mentoring of Brian, who is a PSC patient and is now the director of the registry. That's through Rachel's incredible guidance and ability to show the power and why it's so important that we stay our course in what the registry is and that it stays what it was meant to be, which is a platform for patients to bring their voice to research and change and give perspective to clinicians and researchers that are interested in this field and feel like you can move that needle forward. The registry now, we have over 2,700 patients in the registry. This last year, I believe we did over 200 surveys, which is an incredible wealth of knowledge. I hope, and we try to showcase this to the community, but those results go to AASLD, they go to EASL, they drive.
They go to IPSCS, the International PSC Study Group.
Your voice, might not be there, your voice is.
Yes.
Because we're showing these survey results, we're showing the symptoms that patients, the liver pain that no one believed, that was shown at these incredible international scientific collaborative, places where there's 10,000 people there that are looking at being involved in liver disease. And it's so incredibly important. So the registry is becoming a powerhouse. And as, Ricky said, it took a lot, and it took a lot to build with Rachel. Now people are coming to us because they see the power of the registry. So we're getting the phone calls saying, can we
get information from the registry?
Yes.
And I have to say that Rachel was such a visionary, because when she actually started this by working with a program with NIH, a pilot program. And at that time, there were very, very few patient organizations that even had thought about a registry. We were one of the first. So hooray to Rachel for being way ahead of anyone. And other organizations come to Rachel all the time and say, how did you build the registry?
How do I do that?
How do I do that? What did you learn? What would you do differently? It was done really, really brilliantly, and continues to grow and change and just as it's needed.
And I hope more patients become involved with the registry. Again, the number one thing that even came out of the event in LA was, we can't get anywhere unless we're all involved in research. You don't
because
get
we're
a
small
market. You don't get a cure unless you're that one. Oh, I just did that. So it's really also supporting a patient in dialing it down to what is specific to you, that you could move the needle forward if you so choose, to where helping you having to go through all of that information and to find out that you don't qualify.
Right.
I think is a
Exactly.
great, it's just another testament of trying to make things easier.
Take the burden off
Take the burden
patient.
off the patient of having to do that research themselves.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. And I've participated in myself. I filled in many of those surveys and looked at the, I don't, now that I'm in Ireland and now that I'm transplanted, I'm not, but sometimes it will come up and ask you, do you want to take part in this clinical trial, but it won't be suitable because I'm not in the country. So it's easy just to ignore it. You don't have to. So we actually have talked a lot about the future of PSC Partners, but could we talk a little bit more just to kind of wrap things up now? I've gone over time a little bit, but I'd like to just kind of get your guys for PSC Partners.
Well, I think
You want to talk about wind?
Yeah, I'll talk about wind and also where I see the future. Is, the wind project is something that we've taken on. It's we have 18 sites now. We have over 700 patients involved. This is also to help with clinical trials and hopefully become the placebo group to a clinical trial, which is always a factor when you're thinking about entering into a clinical trial and thinking, am I going to be the placebo person and not get the drug? And then on top of that, for industry, for pharma to run those type of trials, it takes multiple years, up to 5 years. Wind is there to hopefully be that placebo group. And could you imagine saying you're going to be in a clinical trial and, oh no, everybody gets it. You don't even have to worry about that. The placebo group's taken care of because we have these patients who have committed to getting tests done once a year, follow up by phone every quarter on symptoms, that is driving us collecting that data that could eventually be used in a clinical trial as the placebo group for a clinical trial, which would just expedite that trial as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So that is where wind is at the cusp of changing the future of the way clinical trials are done. And so this is something that we're being looked at from many other groups too. If we can pull this off and the FDA sees this as a valid cohort to be used for that placebo group, imagine what could happen with clinical trials and the amount of time that would take off that study, and also the cost, because you're not having to go find 700 patients and half of them have to be in a placebo group. You can cut down the amount of patients because you already have this data, a wealth of data from patients. So we're still accepting patients. We need more patients. The more we get, the better.
And it's international.
There's 18 sites around the world that are participating in this project for us. It's a 5-year collection of data from the patients. And so that for us is something that really could change the landscape of clinical trials for everyone, not just PSC. This could show a way to really expedite clinical trials for any disease.
And I'd like to say kudos to Steve Rossi, who has really put this together. And really, I think he spends every waking moment figuring out how to make this work. And this is totally patient led.
Yes.
So it's very, very, very exciting and very hopeful.
Yeah. And I think for me, the future is something that, something I've said to Ricky from when I took this role was, one, in my career, I stay where I'm at. It's something I'm invested, and I invest many years when I commit to something, and it is me making a commitment too. And as they say, I got Ricky. And
yes, you did.
I did get Ricky. And I do feel very strongly, and hopefully people see from this podcast, that Ricky and I are partners. And no matter what, I am always going to carry Ricky's legacy on. And the most important thing to me is the community and the patients. And Ricky, And that means so much to me. And it will be the driving force of what this organization will always be about. No matter if it's making a decision in research, that is because of the patient's voice. We don't make a decision that doesn't involve the patient voice. And that's because of Ricky and the empowerment of her doing that. And it brings me to tears because I care so deeply about Ricky, but I also, Ricky's
the feeling
trust,
is mutual.
yeah, the trust that Ricky has in me to know that I will continue to do that is very heartfelt and meaningful to me. And it's what drives me every day, is knowing that how she started, how it came about, and the great responsibility that I have on my shoulders to continue that.
One thing we haven't talked much about, we kind of take for granted, is everything we're doing for patients. We talk about research because that seems very, very exciting, and it is. But, we're continuing our webinar series. We have our mentor program. We have our Zoom meetings, support groups.
And now Connected to Care.
And Connected to Care, and the conference. And do you want to say, really, and the other thing I think is really exciting about the conference is that we are extremely lucky to have Ken Hollander and Dave and Roz Perry, who are offering scholarships to all of our conferences for people who can't afford it, and it just life-changing.
And it's life-changing.
It is life-changing for them. So would you say a few words about our conference this year with AASLD?
Yeah. So with AASLD, we always wait to announce where our conference is, but we went to AASLD and they had delayed in saying where their next year's event was. Usually they say very early on. And so we went to the event in DC, and they made the announcement there that the 2026 AASLD was going to be in Denver, which is our home base.
Like,
which,
ding.
Yes, it was so exciting. So exciting. And it instantly set a light bulb off for me, because AASLD has started this patient series at the event, but there haven't been a lot of patients in attendance because it's just started, but also it wasn't a patient event really, where they looked at bringing patients. And so really came up with the idea and talked with AASLD, and they are thrilled. We are partnering with them and holding our conference at AASLD. And what we're looking forward to is bringing our community. I keep saying, imagine the patients from PSC Partners walking through that exhibit hall, walking into these sessions together as patients and listening to this groundbreaking research that's happening, and meeting people that they've never seen that are invested in the disease that they're experiencing and what they're going through, and to hear things that aren't even released yet in the public. And so we're thrilled to be able to have this opportunity. I do say it's probably a once in a lifetime. I don't think AASLD's coming back to Denver anytime soon after this. And so it's a very unique and incredible opportunity for us to bring this to the community and our community to be a face there at AASLD. And I will say they're so excited about it, AASLD, that again, here's PSC paving the way. They're watching this to see if it's successful.
It's kind of like the little comic getting a platform at Con. For those who don't know,
right?
It's like, it's huge, and also interesting because. It'll be interesting to see if there's any bleeds the other way. Sorry, I used the word bleed. Maybe it's a
good one.
But it'll be interesting to see if it works the other way, because you will have America's best hepatologists and there at that conference, and it'll be interesting to see if any of them are drawn in, because obviously there's been a lot more interest in PSC as an illness in the last couple of years, because certain illnesses have been not solved, but there's been cures for them or whatever. And there's a lot more focus now on. I mean, as it was explained to me by one physician or clinician, was the PSC is kind of a black box illness. Solve it, you solve a whole load of problems in
right, and our connection with IBD, all of those things, that makes it so difficult for them. So, it is a very exciting time, I think, for us.
Yeah, great. And, it could so easily be the other way, right? It's been a rough year, a rough couple of years for a lot of organizations and a lot of research-based organizations as well.
Yeah. Or I would say that's where our community has kept us being able to do what we do.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, without the community, not only the support, but the funding and the donations, I mean, we would definitely be in a different place.
Right. And also, I think one thing Audra and I have in common is that we haven't talked about this, but we don't give up.
Yeah.
So.
We really
I'm very glad that my future is in your guys' hands, because it's it's been so well. You've looked after it so well so far. So the community really appreciates it. I know that. My friends.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I mean, I think,
I think we've said it all, really.
I think for me is knowing and letting the community know that even if you are thinking, I can't do anything, you can. There's so many ways that you can have an impact. You don't have to give funds. You don't have to get up on a platform and speak in front of hundreds of people. It can be a part of the registry, or if you really are looking to get more involved with PSC Partners, we have our board of directors, and it's something there. You could be at the table helping us make the decisions with this organization. And so, I think that there's things that sometimes people don't even realize are out there and available to help and support. And hey, if you know someone that can help drive this organization and has an expertise that would fit on a board, and
we would love it.
We would love that.
But also just feel if you don't have any confidence that you're of any use to us, you are. Call us, connect with us, give us your story. It all adds up and really helps in the research and also in all the education and support. So
be a mentor. Be on the Zoom room.
Be a mentor. Ask for a mentor. Yeah. Join the registry.
Yeah.
Come to our webinars. Come to our conferences.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Be a part of the community, because
in any way that you can.
Yeah. And I think you hit it on the head now. Every story has an impact.
Yep.
You just don't know it unless you share your story.
Right.
And so I think it's really important to let the community know that.
Yeah.
You can help.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And finally, when is the conference?
This year it is in November, so November 5th through the 8th. In Denver with AASLD. And so it's a full day conference on the 5th, Thursday the 5th, and then we are going as a community, and you're going to have staff going with, we have different tracks of sessions that you can choose from, and there will always be someone from PSC Partners with you for those tracks and going into those sessions with you. And so the next, after Thursday, then Friday and Saturday are those days where we're in AASLD, we're going all in, and we're showing up as patients going into these sessions.
And as always, we will have our booth. And I must say that our booth is always the fun booth. That's what the hepatologists have told us.
We do have fun.
We do have fun, and they do like coming to our booth. So
Wonderful. And will there be the same kind of community stuff that you've had in the past at the conference as well? Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
So you'll have breakfast and lunches together, and then we'll have dinner at night together as well. Like I said, Thursday is the typical conference that you experience. So there's breakouts and time with your peer groups and all of that. And then periodically during those other days, again, there's timing to coming together and with your peers and things like that also.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, guys. It's been great talking to you. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Audra.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, giving us this chance. I love it. Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this week. For more information about PSC and for a list of people and topics we'll be covering in the near future, please go to www.pscpartners.org. That's www.pscpartners.org. PSC Partners is a non-profit organisation dedicated to providing education and support to primary sclerosing cholangitis patients. There is information and resources on the website. There is a conference once a year. There is a private Facebook group that you can also join. Also, please join our patient registry. This is an anonymous database that provides research support to the medical community who are researching this disease. Thank you very much for listening.